Hello everyone, my name is Joni. I am a Christian romance author and welcome to Love Qualified TV, all about faith, entrepreneurship and lifestyle. Here I share my writing and publishing journey. So I am working on my next release, my next Christian fiction release. It is a Christian coming of age novel with a sweet love story and is set in my home country, Cameroon, and it's called Whispers of Promise and Glory. I just finished draft 3, which was incorporating the beta reader edits, and I just wanted to talk you guys through the process and the feedback that I got and what sort of edits I made. So if you're interested in that, then keep watching. Okay, so one of the things that my beta readers mentioned is from the very first chapter, actually, and they said that they didn't understand the way I described the compound that the main character lived in. When I was writing this book, it's set in a small town in Cameroon, the southwest region of Cameroon called Muyoka. That's where I was born. My grandparents used to live in Muyoka, and basically when I was describing the compound, I was picturing my grandparents' compound in Muyoka, and I really didn't like describe it properly because when she said it, I went back and I read what I wrote and I was like, oh yeah, that doesn't make I didn't give enough detail. So I had to go back and, include a bit more description so I understand, how the compound looks, just to form a little bit of imagery and why it's set up like that. So I actually went and did that. And then another thing that they pointed out as well was the subjects that the main character was studying, because it's a coming of age. So at the beginning of the book, she's finished her A levels, which is like senior high school for Americans. And basically, she wants to study law at university. This is not a spoiler. It's in the blurb, which I'm going to leave in the description. So she wants to study law at university. And the A-level subjects that I put that she did in the manuscript was economics, history and politics, and that's from my research because I didn't do my A-levels in Cameroon. I did my A-levels here in the UK. So one of my beta readers, because they're all Cameroonians, some of them are abroad, but they all were born and lived in Cameroon. They studied in Cameroon up until university level at least. So they commented and said that there's no politics A level. So it's going to be philosophy and not politics. So I had to go back and change it to economics, history, and philosophy. There's no politics A level in Cameroon, apparently. I don't know because I didn't do A levels in Cameroon. But yeah, it was just little things like that it was glad that my beta readers are all Cameroonian, because the one thing I don't want to do with this story is not to represent Cameroon well. Like, I am Cameroonian. I want to represent the country well. So it was good that they picked that up. So another thing that my beta readers asked about or thought that they might want to know a bit more about is just a little bit more about my main character's dad. So Priscilla's dad. She loses her dad in this novel, and it's a coming of age story that shows how she navigates grief. So loss is one of the things that she navigates in this book. Loss, love, and a civil war. Her dad dies, that's the inciting incident basically in the book. So, one of the early chapters in the book. But I realized, or they made me realize, that I didn't include much of a backstory for the dad. So I had to go in and just add a few more bits and bobs, through their conversations, just to add like his occupation, or what he did before he, and just things like that, just to flesh his story out a bit more, because they do have one conversation in the book, Priscilla and her dad, before he dies. So I used that conversation to try and flesh out their relationship and just to see how that would affect Priscilla after he dies, because grief is something that's really explored in this book, especially from losing your parent at such a young age. So, because she's only 18 when the book starts. So yeah, I had to go back and just write a bit more about her. And then there were also some very tiny little details that I wanted to add here and there. For example, there is a wedding scene in the book, and I used that wedding to sort of like showcase Cameroonian culture and some of the practices that happen during some Cameroonian weddings for particular tribes in Cameroon, because Cameroon has so many tribes, like over 200 tribes, and they have their own way that they conduct their weddings. So for the particular tribes mentioned in this book, I just wanted to showcase like the beauty and diversity of Cameroonian culture. So there was one little detail about the wedding that I wanted to include, so I just went and added like a line to explain that that's what was there. And then there is a side character that only comes up in like, I don't know, 2-3 scenes much later in the book. I think part 2 of the book, because the book has 3 parts. The name I'd given that side character, I didn't like the name. It's actually a name like by one of my family members. But I didn't like the name. It was a young boy, and I feel like the name is like an old-fashioned name. So I wanted to go back and change that name. And Google Docs has this very cool feature where you can search the document, like you can search for a word, and obviously the word comes up the number of times in the whole document, and you can choose to replace that word. So I just replaced the name with the new name that I wanted, and yeah, I didn't have to even go and look through all the different scenes that this character was in. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. And then the other changes that I made, or other things that I fleshed out, was stuff to do with the war. So like I said, this is a book that mentions, or it's set on the background of the ongoing armed conflict in Cameroon called the Anglophone Crisis, or the Amazonian War. And there were just a few details. So the thing about this book is that there are actually events in the book that were actually events that happened, like real historical events that happened between 2017 and 2018. So I had to do a lot of research to make sure these events are accurate, like it fits the timeline for the book and everything. Sorry, my son is next to me. If you hear these noises, he's playing. So yeah, I just had to go and flesh out a few details just to add a bit more like information about the war, because one of the things that I want to do with this book is also to use it as an avenue to spread awareness about the Anglophone crisis and what's going on in my home country, because it's one of the most neglected humanitarian crises ever. And this has been going on since 2016, and it's still going on right now. So yeah, there were quite a few things about the war. And the good thing about my beta readers is that they were people who had actually been affected by the war. They had been internally displaced as well because of the war, and some of the other people had not been affected by the war because they were living on the side of the country where there was no fighting. So it was good to have beta readers who were living in opposite parts of the country to see how much they knew about this war, and if the ones who didn't know much about it, if they were well informed, and the people who lived through it, if I was able to represent the details of the war like properly. So I really like that fact. And I love, the number of beta readers that I had this time, and the fact that I chose to go with Cameroonian beta readers. I feel like those are the best people that could help give me like solid feedback for this book. 6 of them were supposed to read the book, but in the end only 3 of them read it. But it was fine because I've only had 3 beta readers in the past, and actually 3 is a perfect number for me. So yeah, I quite liked that side of things, and I hope that I've done it justice, in terms of really spreading awareness about what's going on in my home country. Now, the last 2 changes that I made, the first one was to do with the epilogue. Now, I'm not going to say exactly what I did because I feel like that would spoil the story, but there is a love story in this book. There's a sweet love story, a young love, and I really love it. It's so sweet. And because I can't write books without love stories, because I love romance. So the epilogue, so one of my beta readers gave me an idea for what to include in the epilogue. I had written the epilogue, but actually what I'm going to do, so what I've done, because I've already edited the book and I've already sent it to my editor, what I did was I actually, what I had as my epilogue, I made that the final chapter 59, and then I wrote a whole new chapter and made that chapter the epilogue. So yeah, and I actually liked the fact that she gave me this idea on what to write. And there was actually a side character who came up like a few times. It was a very important side character in the book, and I just never mentioned that character again later in the book. And one of my BT readers was like, what happened to this person? Like, he just disappeared. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about him. And so I had to bring him back like at the end, like in the epilogue. So that was quite a good thing. And then the last change that I made was to do with my main character's aunt, Eunice. Also, she is in the blurb of the book. We also explore her story. There's a whole subplot with her in this book as well. And the way I wrote the ending of her story, it was great, like it was good, but one of my beta readers gave me an idea to make her story even better. Well, actually, it wasn't my beta readers. I joined a conversation online a few days ago about widowhood about being a widow, being a widower, and just how that is seen in African culture and some of the struggles that widows go through in the African culture. And so I was just thinking about that, and it just gave me an idea of like a different way that I could write the ending to her story, because she's a widow in the book. And so I changed the way her story ended. It's a more heartwarming ending for her. Not that the previous ending wasn't heartwarming, but I just feel like adding that detail about her story in the end made it even more heartwarming. So I'm glad that I joined that conversation, because it really brought on that revelation for me to do this character justice. So I think that's it. Those are all the changes that I made for this manuscript. I started making the changes on Monday, and today is Friday, so it took me like 5 days to finish it, including writing the new chapter. So I'm glad that it didn't take me too long. So I have sent it off to my editor. Today is the 6th of March. She has told me that she will start reading through the manuscript on Monday, and we're going to do developmental edits, developmental edits, copy edits, and proofreads. Bless you, Papa. And hopefully we'll be able to finish by the end of May, so that I can order proof copies of the book, and I can use that as promotion for the Kickstarter in July. So if you didn't know, this book, Whispers of Promise and Glory, will be releasing first on Kickstarter. Kickstarter is just a fancy pre-order where you're going to be I'm crowdfunding for a special edition for this book. So we're going to be doing special edition ebooks, special edition paperbacks, special edition hardcovers. You're going to have the options of 2 covers for the book. There's going to be full illustrations in the book. There's going to be just, custom chapter headers. There's going to be an exclusive bonus chapter in the book. There's going to be lots of other exclusive goodies that other people who order the book when it publicly comes out in October aren't going to have access to. Sorry, I'm wrestling with my son here on the sidelines. But so it's going to be releasing first on Kickstarter in July, and I'm so excited for it. But you can follow the Kickstarter pre-launch page right now, and you will be the first to know when the campaign goes live. So you can follow the Kickstarter by clicking the link that I will leave in the description box. I am going to leave you guys now because my son is just doing the most. He's doing the most next to me. But thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you want me to also document the feedback that I get from my editor. I used to do this with my other books, but last year, because I didn't vlog so much, I didn't do it for my last release, Love Scribbles and Other Things. But I'd like to take you guys along the journey as much as I can for this book, Whispers of Promise and Glory. So let me know if you'd like to know how the edits with my editor goes. But I'm excited for this book, and I hope you're excited too. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember that the sovereign love of the one true God has qualified you to be his beloved one. Take care and God bless you. Mwah.